Thank you for tuning in to Exeter TV. Exeter TV is the town's public and government access channels, available on Comcast Channels 6 and 22. Channel 6 is your channel. If you have an idea for a program, want to host your own talk show, or submit a film, we're here to get your content on television. On Channel 22, we bring you live and replay coverage of government meetings and other town updates. A third channel, Blue Hawk Media, is operated by SAU 16 and can be found on Channel 8, with all your school sports, events, and meetings. You can watch Exeter TV online at exeternh.tv. Apple TV, and on Roku. Find us on social media for extra content. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell to get notified about live streams and new content. Tune in to our platforms every other Friday to watch the Exeter Bi-Weekly Report with recaps of recent events, updates from town departments, and messages from nonprofits in your area. If you head to our website, exeternh.tv, we invite you to sign up to our newsletter to receive monthly updates about new content, upcoming meetings, and more. We'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch Exeter TV and hope that you tune in to our other content as well. Welcome to your meeting minute for the Exeter Select Board's September 11th meeting. First on the agenda was a request for funds from the ADA Capital Reserve Fund. Amanda Kelly presented a proposal for installing a universal changing table in the Exeter Town Hall's public restroom to enhance accessibility.
All in all, I think it's going to serve a really underserved, possibly the most underserved population that most people don't even know about. Get them off the bathroom floor, because that's horrible. And Exeter would then be the leader in the state in this, and we are just going to take it on the road and keep getting more places in the state to install them as well.
No opposition at all from me. I wish that we had done this 5 years ago when we first started talking about it.
Next, Andy Kohler, the town clerk, requested funding for voting machines, emphasizing the importance of maintaining efficient and secure elections.
LHS is the company that we use currently for our AccuVote machines. They have a new machine coming out. It's going to be $6,300. I'm requesting 4 machines. The voting booths that we currently own, I think we should put them out to other towns smaller towns that can use them. We can't. They're falling apart. The shelves are falling off. There's no replacement parts. So we're down to the wire.
Following that, a public hearing was conducted by Underwood Engineers Incorporated to discuss water and sewer rates going forward.
Just reminding you what you'd be voting on if you were to accept the recommendations is a 20% water rate increase to be effective as soon as possible, and a sewer rate increase of 4% to be effective as soon as possible.
We haven't changed rates in 2 years, and up until quite recently, with some events that have happened, it hasn't really been a problem. We haven't. Our reserves have been strong, and our cash flow has been relatively good. So I would recommend not doing such a large increase.
I am going to put a marker down that I am reluctant to ignore professional advice, and I'm a big fan of this model, and I understand your point of view, Chairman Kelly, but I'm going to be skeptical.
The meeting wrapped up with the town manager's report and committee reports from the members of the board. To hear what they had to say, visit our Exeter TV YouTube channel. The next select board meeting is on September 18th. See you there.
They make us wait from March to now, almost October to get it. So yeah. Because
into Exeter TV. Exeter TV is the town's public and government access channels, available on Comcast Channels 6 and 22. Channel 6 is your channel. If you have an idea for a program, want to host your own talk show, or submit a film, we're here to get your content on television. On Channel 22, we bring you live and replay coverage of government meetings and other town updates. A third channel, Blue Hawk Media, is operated by SAU 16 and can be found on Channel 8, with all your school sports, events, and meetings. You can watch Exeter TV online at exeternh.tv. Apple TV, and on Roku. Find us on social media for extra content. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell to get notified about live streams and new content. Tune in to our platforms every other Friday to watch the Exeter Biweekly Report with recaps of recent events, updates from town departments, and messages from nonprofits in your area. If you head to our website, exeternh.tv, we invite you to sign up to our newsletter to receive monthly updates about new content, upcoming meetings, and more. We'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch Exeter TV and hope that you tune in to our other content as well.
Good evening. As the hour is 6:15 p.m., I will call the Town of Exeter Select Board meeting to order. Welcome to the September 25th, 2023 Select Board meeting. Board's going to start out downstairs for about 10 minutes for a board interview, at which point we'll return and reconvene the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in.
Okay, thank you and welcome back. Again, this is the September 25th, 2023 Town of Exeter Select Board meeting. I'd like to say good evening to my colleagues on the board, respective staff, those in attendance. We're going to introduce the Conservation Commission in a few moments. And certainly good evening to all of you watching at home on TV. I'd like to introduce the board. To my right, Selectman Dan Chartrand. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chair.
Our Vice Chair, Selectwoman Wally Cowan. Good evening.
Hi, everyone.
Our Clerk, Selectwoman Julie Gilman. Good evening.
Good evening, everyone.
Selectwoman Nancy Belanger. Good evening.
Good evening, everyone.
Our Town Manager, Mr. Rustine. Good evening.
Good evening.
Our Town Manager, Melissa Roy, is also in attendance, and my name is Nico Pepper-Costandis. Before we jump into the next agenda item, which is a public hearing that will start at 6:30, I'd like to take the next couple of minutes to go through a couple of other items while we wait. The first of which is approval of minutes. We have two sets of minutes in our packet this evening. First, I would ask the board if there are any revisions or amendments to the regular meeting minutes of September 11th, 2023.
Mr. Chair, I was not at the meeting, but I'd like to add, I'll just say something that doesn't need to be added to the meetings, but just for informational purposes.
Can we just approve the minute? Then I'll have you do it. Let's.
Very good.
If there are no revisions or amendments, I'd entertain a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes of September 11th, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Yes, you were here.
Aye.
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 I abstain.
Opposed? Motion passes 4-0 with one abstention. Selectwoman Gilman.
Yes, there was the discussion from the town clerk's office about the voting booths and machines. I spoke to the Secretary of State about how they're using the Help America Vote Act, which should help us fund these things. I think that was the intent, but what's happened is that there's been approved at the state level online registration and voter checklists and et cetera, and they need to spend money on IT equipment and cybersecurity, et cetera. So that money is going to get spent there first, and if anything's left over, then money will be distributed to the towns.
There has not been online voter registration that has been approved.
The voter registration lookup.
Okay, but that is not online voter registration.
No, I'm sorry.
Okay. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And I think Mr. Dean, our clerk, will be at our next meeting to give us an update on the machines.
Yes.
I'm correct? Thank you. Thank you, Selectwoman Gilman. I would ask the board, are there any amendments or revisions to the special meeting minutes of September 18th, 2023? Seeing none, then I would entertain a motion to approve the Exeter Select Board special meeting minutes of September 18th, 2023.
So moved.
And I will second.
Motion a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And I abstain.
I'll abstain too.
Motion passes 3-0 with 2 abstentions. Thank you. We have a few more minutes. We can take up appointments. We just interviewed Stephanie Marshall downstairs for the Energy Committee. There's no term on this, Mr. Dean, correct?
Correct, no term.
And I would entertain a motion to appoint Stephanie Marshall to the Energy Committee.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. We thank Stephanie for volunteering. And we had an interview several weeks ago with E. Carrington Heath for the Housing Advisory Committee, and at this time I would entertain a motion to appoint E. Carrington Heath to the Housing Advisory Committee for a term to expire April 30th, 2026.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0.
And Julie, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to snap at you about the online vote. I was snapping through you towards the Secretary of State. How's
Not
that?
through you to me either.
I know.
I already snapped at him, so.
Yes, good.
Thank you. Mr. Dean, with 2 minutes to spare before the public hearing is called to order, would it be appropriate for the Conservation Commission Chair to call their meeting to order?
It would be.
Okay. Mr. Chair, if you'd call your meeting to order, please.
Thank you. So I'm going to open, not the hearing part, but our meeting. Okay, so Hello, my name is Andrew Koff. I'm the chair of the Conservation Commission. We're here to have a meeting within a meeting regarding the topic we'll talk about in a minute. I'll introduce myself, and then we can just introduce each other here. Again, Andrew Koff, chair of the Conservation Commission.
Keith Whitehouse.
Nick Campion.
Michelle Crapo.
Dave Short.
Welcome. Nice to see you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having us on short notice.
And in just a second here, you can call the public hearing to order. And we've got 6:30, so go ahead.
Okay. Right, so I am going to call open a public hearing for the consideration of the use of $100,000 from the Exeter Conservation Fund for the acquisition of an executory interest deed on tax map 113 lot 3 and tax map 113 lot 5. So regarding this, we're going to first have a short presentation.
And I think you have to entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
Okay.
And then second, and then vote, and then it'll be open.
Okay, right, we have to motion it. Thank you.
I make a motion to open the public hearing.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Do we don't need a roll call for that?
Nope. No. You're good, you're open. Thank you.
Okay, we're open now. And so we'll start with a short presentation, followed by any public comment before we make a motion. So I'll invite, we have Jeremy from the Southeast Land Trust, if you want to come up and give a brief presentation.
Thank you, members of the Select Board. My name is Jeremy Luigi. I work for the Southeast Land Trust. So these 156 acres, approximately 21 of which are in Exeter. The entire property does drain into Great Brook, which also drains into the Exeter River. 113 of these acres are significant farmland soils. There are floodplains, aquifer, a wellhead protection area, and pollutant attenuation on site. Portions of this property are a high priority area for the New Hampshire Coastal Plan. More than 100 acres scores average or above average by the Nature Conservancy's Climate Resiliency Plan. Nearly the entire property is considered in the top 3 tiers for the New Hampshire Fish and Game's Wildlife Action Plan. Connect the Coast connectivity corridor, highlighted by the New Hampshire Coastal Plan, is present on the property. The property also abuts 3 major conservation areas already. The property is a tree farm. It is an identified historic brickyard. Many of the bricks which are found on Academy property and some of the Academy buildings. This project has been a high priority for the Southeast Land Trust and the town of Kensington, and actually the towns of Exeter and East Kingston since the early 2000s. There have been several conservation efforts which have failed up until this point for a variety of reasons, but we now have all 3 towns in some sort of a partnership coming together, trying to conserve this property. We have a landowner that has informally agreed to the terms of the agreement, and I'm here happy to answer any further questions.
Are there any questions?
When you say that there are 3 abutting properties, what are you talking about? The ones from East Kingston and Kensington?
Yeah, so actually the map is up right now. So the Blunt property, which is in East Kingston, is a protected property. The asset title holding company is actually owned by the town of Kensington, and the Hanson property, which is in the town of Exeter.
Yes, thank you.
So, yeah.
When people watch from home, they can't always see the map.
I'm sorry, yeah.
No, that's why sometimes I ask the questions I do. So
Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
It's great to have this opportunity to meet some of those goals that you've talked about and the the quality of land that is under consideration.
yeah, we are supportive of this activity, and that's why we're here, obviously, through our discussion and a site walk we did on the property recently. It is an excellent piece of land, and this will preserve it for years to come.
So I'm just going to go through some of my notes from our Conservation Commission and do that report early.
Great.
One of the things I wanted to clarify is with this easement, it's a protection of the watershed, but we won't have the ability to use a well or any of the water sources, correct? It's just...
Correct. So
Thank you.
what we're doing is we're protecting the land from any further development, protecting water quality in the Exeter River.
Yes, thank you. And there was some discussion about public parking. There was some back and forth because the actual terms are not finalized yet. So one of the, I think it was Mr. Clement, suggested that people, if they wanted to park, and they can use the trails, that was another thing that I really wasn't clear on, could park at the old dump near the tracks. There's a little pullover area, because there was some voiced concern. There's no public parking lot, and obviously that's not a road you park on the side of the road, unless it's off the road. Yeah, that was it for me, for my notes.
Kristen, anything else from you, or? No? Okay. Mr. Chair, there's no public on Zoom, and there's no other members of the public here, so if your board is...
I do have one question. The piece of property that is not included in here, how is that going to be delineated for the public to know they can't go there? Going to be private property signs, or?
No, yeah, so that area is just excluded from the conservation easement, meaning it won't be restricted in any way. That's where the landowner's home and barns are. So actually, with respect to public access, I believe the conversation that we ended with the Conservation Commission is this is a private property. It's a little bit different than public access on a property that the town of Exeter purchases for the town. So we're not going to be providing a parking area or trails for the public to have access.
It's just open, protected space.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, can I have a follow-up? So what happens to you said there were a lot of trails in Kensington and East Kingston. Do those stay open to the public?
Yeah, provided the landowner chooses not to post the land against public access, people will be able to access the property in the same way they do now, which is open to the public.
Thank you.
Thank you both. Any other questions? Comments? No other members of the public are present. So, Mr. Chair, at this time, the commission could entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Okay, I will make a motion that we close the public hearing.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
I'll say aye too. So that's, and I failed to mention earlier, Michelle is going to be a voting member tonight, so that's 5-0. The next, we're going to make a motion regarding the use of funds. Okay. So I'll make that motion to authorize the use of $100,000 from the Conservation Fund for the acquisition of real property interests through the executory interest at tax map 113-3 and 113-5 in the name of the town by the Conservation Commission pursuant to RSA 36A4, contingent on the Select Board authorization and raising the additional funds needed to complete the project. And further, to authorize the chair or a designee to sign a letter of support for the application of a drinking water trust fund grant as part of this project. Does anyone want to second that?
Second.
Michelle? Okay, Michelle seconds. Okay, we're going to do a roll call vote. Is it Andrew Koff, the chair? I vote in favor. Aye. Keith Whitehouse?
Aye.
Nick Campion?
Aye.
Michelle Crepeau?
Aye.
And Dave Short?
Aye.
Okay. So we have voted in favor 5-0. And I think we can close our meeting here. We will make a motion. Do we need a motion to close? No.
You could, a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn. Okay, thank you. I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you.
We jumped through some hoops, thank you.
Well, wait, we're not
done yet.
We're not done yet.
No, we're not.
Are there any other questions or comments from the select board regarding this proposal? Okay, then if not, I would entertain a motion from the select board to authorize the acquisition of real property interest through executory interest at tax map 113-3 and 113-5 in the name of the town by the Conservation Commission pursuant to RSA 36A:4, contingent on Southeast Land Trust signing a binding purchase and sales agreement with the landowner and raising the additional funds needed to complete the project.
So moved.
Sorry.
Sorry.
And to further authorize the chair to sign a letter of support for the application of a drinking water trust fund grant as part of the project.
Okay, now, so moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nico, you all set? You want my glass?
No, I had the microphone in the way.
Oh, okay, I couldn't tell. No. Good night, thank you.
Good night, thank you.
That was fun. See you guys. Great. Oh, somebody's water? Good save. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Drew. Okay, Mr. Dean, the officer swearing in is taking place at what time this evening?
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock, okay. And I know the tree committee is coming in after. If the board would indulge me, we have about 15 minutes. We could tackle some regular business if
Let's do it.
everybody
We haven't,
is in favor of that.
we haven't done public comment for our meeting yet. Is there anyone online?
There's nobody online. I was going to wait till 7 o'clock just in case folks come online. I would, if I do see somebody come on though, obviously I'd give them an opportunity to speak. Madam Clerk, in our packet we have some intent to cut.
Yep. Mr. Chair, I move to approve an intent to cut or accept an intent to cut for map 54, lot 5, lot 5, 6, and 7 for 1 year of cutting wood.
Second.
Motion and a second.
Molly got it.
Selectwoman
Go up,
Cowan with
Molly.
the second. Seeing no discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0.
Mr. Chair, I move to accept intent to cut for map 63, lot 205 for 1 year of cutting.
Second.
Motion and a second. Seeing no discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Thank you. No permits and approvals this evening.
What was that extra? Oh, that's the tree, yeah.
Yeah, this goes with the intent. Selectwoman Belanger, did you want to continue with any committee reports?
Sure. I don't need to repeat that one. So the Conservation Commission from September 12th I just did one in part. But there was also a conditional use permit for construction of a vehicle electric storage facility at McFarland Ford. So 3 stations, 6 charging. Conservation Commission approved that. It still has to go in front of the planning board. And there's another piece of conservation land coming up to us, but that one's more in the $1 million range. And so that's the Exeter Newfields issue. Well, we're having an issue that's being, but that should be coming up fairly soon. So just an FYI for budget purposes. Housing Advisory Committee, we had a joint field trip planned with Planning Board, and the weather was terrible, and we really want to walk the property in Dover, conservation land, things like that. So as soon as that's rescheduled, I'll let everyone know. I attended a hazard mitigation meeting with Russ and Chief, and several other people, which was a real eye-opening experience. It's the first. It happens, I guess, every 5 years, so it was the first time I ever participated in that. So glad I got to do that. Public traffic pedestrian study. We met on the 19th. We're going to meet again tomorrow, and there is a survey up on the website. Please, people, take it. And the first public input session is scheduled for Wednesday night, October 4th at the Town Hall from 6:30 to 7. Planning Board, one thing, and it was approved for 4 Hampton Road, 8 Hampton Road Planet Playground. It's a minor lot adjustment, so that was approved. And excited, the next Planning Board meeting this Thursday is Mr. Sharple's 3rd installment, if you will, of the planning land use regulations series. So everyone watch.
I will. Terrific.
Thank you.
Thank you. Selectwoman Gilman.
Excuse me. The only thing I have to offer is the HDC Med had 3 projects we thought we would be there for a long time, but the efficiency of our permitting process really made it a much shorter meeting than we expected. We approved, or as appropriate, changes to the buildings at 150 or 53 and 55 Water Street, where Exeter Jewelers is now. It's going to be restored to its original beauty because those structural elements are still there. There'll be an addition out back. There currently actually is an addition that's going to be torn down, and something the same footprint is going to be added, and so there'll be residential and retail in that location. And then another one was just replacement windows, and third one is a ramp removal. I know it was kind of humorous that the last two projects were on High Street, and myself I was in a butter to one property, and another member was in a butter to the other property. So we were a little concerned if we didn't have a quorum that 2 of them couldn't be heard, but we made it.
Good.
And that's it.
That's it. Okay. Selectwoman Cowan.
Yes, we had the Water and Sewer Advisory Committee meeting not last week, but the week before. Maybe it was, I don't remember. It was September 13th. We had a number of abatement requests, so we went through those, and then we also did, we took a look at the rate study, which we said we were going to do, and I'm happy to talk through the results now or wait until there's a presentation with Bob at the next, I think not this coming meeting, but the next meeting.
We've scheduled to take this back up on the agenda on October 16th.
Okay.
But if you wanted to give a...
Yeah, I mean, I think it was really helpful to look through what Underwood engineers said. You know, we should have probably taken this up a little bit before because their recommendations were based on like the entirety of 2023, and so this would be kind of a big increase starting in 2020. Starting in 2023 and then having sort of an immediate jump in 2024, which the committee felt like probably we should not do. We also looked at, like, are there any bigger industrial projects that are coming online that can help sort of defray the cost to the town? And then there's also this conservation piece. We have been in a drought, or we had been in a drought for a lot of the time that the study was underway. And so now that we are not in a drought anymore, and there is not this constant pressure to conserve, like, what does that do to our water rates and water usage? And so those are things that we want to be thoughtful about as we are talking about rate increases.
Okay. Thank you. And again, that will be on the agenda October 16th, and the Water and Sewer Chair, Bob Kelly, will be here.
Good.
And Underwood Engineering is coming back, Mr. Dean?
Yes, they are.
Fantastic.
They'll be here.
Yes,
Great.
thank you for telling us about that, Molly. Gives me a chance to think about it.
Selectman Chartrand.
I did not have any meetings for town committees. I did attend a great event. I am on the board of the Exeter Area Chamber of Commerce, and I attended an event called Memories and Milestones right here in downtown Exeter at Mila, the kind of catering and event facility. And it really was a wonderful event, and I bring it up because there were displays of archival material that the Exeter Area Chamber of Commerce found in a closet, and they did a great presentation. I saw one of my mentors in town government, very involved in the Chamber of Commerce back in the 60s and 70s, my friend Harry Thayer. That was a good memory. I miss Harry a lot. It was a great event, and I mention it just because the Chamber of Commerce is a very important part of town history, and especially the downtown, although its focus is wider now. It's the area around Exeter and towns surrounding Exeter. But it was a great event, and I appreciate the Chamber of Commerce staff doing such a great job putting that on and presenting those archival materials. And that's my report.
Thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah.
Thank you. I had the Swayze Park trustee meeting last Wednesday. It was a very brief meeting. A couple of the agenda items had to be postponed, maybe presumably to the next meeting. They are working on the final stages of increasing the signage for no dogs allowed. It's going to be physically on the sidewalk, so when you're walking your dog and you're looking down, you'll be able to see the sign. The vice chair, Darius Thompson's been working on that, and he brought the template in that actually models the town signs that are up and look nice. And I know both he and the chair have had multiple instances of having to tell people, that there are no dogs allowed on the parkway. So hopefully that will prove that. And they just talked about upcoming projects with maintenance to the grounds and tree trimming and so forth. I think the RFP will go out, Mr. Dean, in November for the bid for the lawn.
For maintenance.
Yep. And it was a 21-minute meeting, so very brief. I'll also, while we're on town committee reports, been in some discussions with Selectwoman Gilman, and I know maybe she could take a moment to talk about the work that she's heading up with the Assistant Town Manager, Roy, on the Town Hall building and leading a sort of, not committee, but just a group of interested folks. Go ahead.
Well, if you'll recall, several months ago, the Arts Commission presented a proposal for a consultant to go through the building and do a historical survey and also existing condition survey for the purpose of planning going forward with what the community wants to see there and what are the needs to the infrastructure of the building and the ideas that we have for anything else. So there's going to be a meeting of the stakeholders who comprise of departments of, maintenance department, town manager's office, I'm representing the select board there. There's also the various committees that have something to do with the building, the Arts Commission, the Heritage Commission will need to have some input. They don't all need to be at all the meetings, it's just input as on request. The HDC may need some input. The Energy Committee will want to have weigh-in when we talk about heating and air conditioning options. So there's going to be a meeting on Wednesday of what we call users and stakeholders. So the stakeholders are the people representing the town government interests, and then we have a large group of users who look back at the applications from over a couple years before pre-COVID to see to get the most frequent users, and then others requested put me in on that too. So we have quite a large group. I think it's about 23 people coming on Wednesday. And now this is not an official group now. It's really just an information gathering thing. So no decision's going to be made. If there'll be ideas, there'll still be public input meetings to get ideas. And then proposals will go from there. So it's not excuse me, it's not something that's coming up for this year's budget, but things will be coming along, and there'll be an opportunity because of the age of the building and the historical value it has as a resource to the town. There's several different opportunities to get some funding depending on the parts of the project that we can. A lot of the grants that I know about are for restoration as opposed to improvements, so we'll have to look elsewhere for that kind of funding.
Thank you. So as you can see, this is going to be a large undertaking for those participating, in particular for Selectwoman Gilman and Assistant Town Manager Roy. So I offered to, Selectwoman Gilman has many other committees that she's the Select Board rep to. I've offered to take the Arts and Culture Commission from her and be the Select Board rep to that commission unless one of my colleagues on the board has a special interest in that, and then I would be happy to step aside. But I know everybody already has a full plate. I'm happy to take that if there's no objection.
Thank you.
Any objection? No? Okay. Then I will, I'll attend the next meeting, which I believe is in October. Mr. Dean, if your office could notify the chair of the Arts and Culture Commission that I am now the Select Board rep and to forward emails to me so that that would be great.
Will do.
I'm looking outside. I don't know if the chief is ready or if we need a few more minutes.
We can check on that.
Great. Thank you. Hi, Chief. Good evening.
Is Andy here?
Are you ready to do this?
Yes, we are.
Andy.
Folks, you can all come on in.
So I'd be remiss as people are filing into the room. The last time you swore in two officers, we had the tree committee here for an update, and here they are. They're back again. So
They go together.
they do go together, and the swearing in is always a fun part of what we do, and the tree committee has always got good news. So I'd say you're always welcome to come to a select board meeting. So with that, Chief, I'll turn it over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, members of the Select Board, Town Manager Russ Dean, Town Clerk Andy Kohler. Tonight we're going to witness a swearing in of a new Exeter police officer. Caleb McClure grew up in Bolton, Massachusetts, graduating Neshoba Regional High School in 2017. He holds 2 degrees. The first is a bachelor's in psychology from the University of New Hampshire, and the second is a master's in criminal justice from Merrimack College. Caleb self-sponsored himself through the Merrimack College Police Academy and maintains a full-time police certification in Massachusetts. He is anticipated to test and receive his New Hampshire police certification within the next several months. One of the aspects of Caleb's employment stood out to me more than his extensive educational background. Several years ago, Caleb was an intern at a local teen center. When his supervisor was interviewed, he stated that Caleb goes above and beyond what is expected of him. But the part that really stood out to me was the mention that there was a particular juvenile at the center going through a really tough time with family issues and the criminal justice system. Caleb recognized this and was described as being a big brother who offered lots of support for the juvenile. This is a perfect example of empathy and compassion. These are core values that exemplify what being an Exeter police officer is about. Now we will witness Caleb taking his oath, followed by the pinning of his badge. His badge will be pinned on to him by his father, Ty. At the conclusion of the ceremony, family and friends are welcome to continue to take photos downstairs in the wheelwright room. So this time, we'll witness the oath.
Caleb, if you could come stand for the name right here. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Caleb McClure,
I, Caleb McClure,
of Somersworth, New Hampshire,
of Somersworth, New Hampshire,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will bear faithful and true allegiance
that I will bear faithful and true allegiance
to the United States of America
to the United States of America
and the state of New Hampshire,
and the state of New Hampshire,
and will support the constitutions thereof,
and will support the constitutions thereof,
so help me God.
so help me God.
I, Caleb McClure,
I, Caleb McClure,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully and impartially
faithfully and impartially
discharge and perform
discharge and perform
all the duties incumbent on me
all the duties incumbent upon me
as a police officer,
as a police officer,
according to the best of my abilities,
according to the best of my abilities,
agreeable to the rules and regulations
agreeable to the rules and regulations
of the Constitution
of the Constitution
and the laws of the state of New Hampshire,
and the laws of the state of New Hampshire,
and to enforce the law
and to enforce the law
and uphold the Constitution
and to uphold the Constitution
of the United States of America.
of the United States of America.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thanks, it's a pleasure.
Welcome, good luck.
Thank you, sir. Second
It's too much pressure. I can't. Somebody needs to say something.
It is. Chief, give him a hand.
Straight in. Plenty of photos.
Is there a meeting after this?
It's okay. We've got time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. We all always enjoy these moments of swearing in.
Thank you,
We're so
Deputy Chief.
glad you do it here.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Best of luck.
All right. Mr. Dean, I do enjoy that we do that now. It's great that the chief bringing the officers to
Those are,
meet
yeah,
us.
those are nice ceremonies.
Very nice ceremonies.
For sure.
Thank you. So jumping into our discussion items this evening, we have two. The first of which I alluded to a minute ago. We have the tree committee back. You have the chair of the tree committee and several members of the tree committee, and also Kristen Murphy, who serves as staff to the committee. And last time the tree committee was here, they gave a very nice presentation of the work that they've done and that the work that they would like to do. And they're back here with what we asked them for, and that was a budget. So I don't know who's going to present, but thank you.
Okay.
Oh.
Were you holding that for ransom? Okay.
That bought me enough time to get over the emotional stuff from the last one anyway. Or maybe not, sorry. Okay, so I'm Kristen Murphy, the Conservation and Sustainability Planner for the town, and we put together a budget, as discussed, that reflects the capabilities of town staff, which includes Parks and Rec and Public Works as kind of the team who implements a lot of the tree plantings, as well as the volunteer efforts of the tree committee. And so currently, we really don't have any defined funding for tree planting. Public Works does have a tree maintenance fund, and then Public Works and Parks and Rec tends to kind of opportunistically seek funding where they can to, take advantage of discounted trees or donations, collaborations with school in order to get the plantings that we've been able to complete through our Tree City process. It's pretty impressive, I think, that this community was able to do the Tree City application and qualification each year, plus the growth awards. That's phenomenal, and it really speaks to kind of this collaborative effort of all of these committees. So we, Jay, myself, and Greg Bisson sat down, came up with a budget. We presented a draft to Russ, had a conversation, presented it to the tree committee. So what I'm sharing tonight is endorsed by all of those entities. And I preface it that we felt that it was important to bring forward something that is viable, but also reflects what we really need. And so I'm including 2 years here because I know year one looks like a big jump right now if you consider Public Works maintenance budget, which is $20,000. That mostly covers the stuff that Public Works crews can't get to, for example, tree trimming near power lines or trees that are too high up, that sort of thing. All of that ends up being contracted out. But there are two pieces of equipment that Jay Perkins has identified as really essential to making this work more efficient and more effective. And I'll step through the high dollar ones in a minute. But so in year one, we propose a substantial bump to the tree maintenance line item. And I'll step through that in a minute. Tree planting, this will reflect, it's $5,000, reflecting a commitment to plant 8 trees a year. Contract services, an amount of $10,000 that I'll step through specifically in a minute. Outreach of $100, so that's to fund things like, pencils at the Alewife Festival or, things that we can hand out at a lot of the school programs. Education and training for Public Works staff in order to learn how to properly identify, tree diseases, proper trimming techniques so that Jay can build kind of the certified arborist approach and qualifications in his staff. And then membership to the International Society of Arboriculture. I was worried I was going to get that wrong. And so together combined, that would reflect an $85,535 budget. And we recognize that that's a chunk of change. So I wanted to step through what those additional high dollar ones were. And in both cases, the dollar amount for those would go away. They'd only be for 1 year. Currently, and I just grabbed stock photos for this because I don't have pictures of Public Works vehicles doing this, but currently Public Works has, when they're chipping chipping limbs or whatever, they throw a tarp in the back of the truck and all the chippings go into the truck bed. Jay said it's really messy, it's inefficient, it doesn't hold that much. And then the other thing they do is they have a tote, a 4x4 tote, that 4x4x4 tote that goes in the back of a pickup for hauling water. They have to refill it regularly. There's no pump with that system. It's just a small, garden hose that they then use to water plantings with. And so the first request includes the purchase of a water body and a I couldn't get a picture with just the two of them, and a box truck that they have existing a hook truck that can pick this stuff up and put it in the back of itself. And so that would be to purchase those 2 items of equipment. The second one, right now, as you know, we had an intern in, I think it was 2018, who updated the urban tree, or Exeter street tree plan. It's kind of a stagnant document. It's a stagnant record of what our tree conditions are. And through my volunteer time in Dover just went through a process where they had volunteers go out and survey street trees, survey vacant spots and tree box areas using just a simple app on their phone that was customized. They were trained to say, this needs some trimming or this looks diseased. And so I think with the interest of the volunteers that we have here, there's an opportunity to create something that's more dynamic and stays up to date on a regular basis. And so in Dover, they put together, it's a tree dashboard. It's a live site that they can go to. They see all of the data. It can be updated annually, and there's training for both the staff and the volunteers on how to go out and collect data, how to review this information so that it can be updated. And so I reached out to the contractor who did that, and they estimated they could pull something like that together for us for less than $10,000. So I included $10,000 in that budget. And so that is the budget. Those are the big asks, and I recognize that, but I just wanted to step through the dollars. And do you want to speak or? Sure. Yeah. Anyway, so this is, as we present, what we feel a reasonable ask, and it reflects a need to do an initial investment just to get the equipment that we need.
Great.
Well, since 2019, we've planted 19 trees. This week, we're going to get a delivery from the Elm Research Institute of 13 trees coming our way, possibly 15. And these are cultivated disease-resistant elms. They'll be planted in 5 different locations around town. I spoke to Hope Godino and I said, we've got 2 trees for the little bench outside the library by String Bridge. And she was like, oh, that's great. That's wonderful. But as a result of our cooperative work with the staff from Public Works, from Parks and Rec, from the Resource Office, the Conservation Commission, we decided as a committee, because it had been an idea that maybe we should be a standalone committee. Would that make things easier for us? And we kind of all came to the feeling that it really made a lot more sense for us to work together if we need somebody to dig, or if we need help with mulch or water bags or stuff like that, we talk to each other. We say, Jay, can you help us do this? And Greg, can you help us do that? And school people and that sort of thing. So we kind of decided that we didn't need to be a standalone committee, but we want to continue to work cooperatively like that. And I have to say that we have amazing cooperation, and people come to meetings at 8:30 once a month, and I go, this is great. But it's not difficult to see that 32 trees even are a drop in the bucket when it comes to the number of street trees and trees in town that have come down due to disease or to development or whatever. So we might say, 32 trees is pretty good. Or you go, So we see that our work is as a commitment to the health and the environment of this community. And we trust that the small amount that we're looking for to have you support tonight is the beginning of a greater investment. And that's what we'd really like to focus on, is this is the beginning of an investment. We've had donors, we've had memorial tree gifts, we've had kids at school writing grants, school support for planting trees on school grounds, and local suppliers who've been more than generous with the cost of the trees, in addition to getting mulch and all those things that go into keeping and maintaining the trees. If we now have 32 trees, we want to be able to make sure that they have the pruning that's needed, the watering that's needed. We've learned that the diaper bags that can go on the trees were good for a couple of years, but all of a sudden you want to be sure you have access to water, and there are lots of places where we're putting trees and you're like, it's a long way from that fire hydrant, it's a long way from access to water. So though when I first saw the chipper and the thing, I was like, how does that connect to what we're wanting to do? And then I really got to see that if the chipper machine frees up Jay to have his folks be able to do more to help us maintain the health of these 30-something trees, and we get more trees, it gives us people power to keep on going. So that's what we're hoping to be able to, encourage the town to support, and hopefully in the scale of, someone said, it's going to be a tough budget year. And then somebody else on the committee said, every year is a tough budget year. So, take a look at a tree and decide, put your money where a tree is for some of it. So, but that's where we're coming from, and we're hoping that you can support what we're doing, and we'd be interested to know if you have any questions, or then what would be our next step? Where does this budget proposal go next?
So I have to say, however you choose to continue your work, whether it's a standalone committee or I respect, the committee wanting to stay as is, I applaud the amount of work that you've done in the last 4 or 5 years. And, this is a committee that gets work done, and you rally the different departments to help. You've rallied us to come and help. You've been there for the students. So, this is something, I love every part of this. This is a committee that's just been very productive since you started, 4 or 5 years ago. So personally, I love, as I said, I love every part of this. The 2 questions that I have, though, Kristen, one for you and one for Mr. Dean. The $10,000 for the contract services, and I see that year 2 it's zeroed out. Will there be charges that we should be considering to maintain the process, or I'm assuming it's on an app or something?
Yeah, so the app is free. It's Survey123, and it's through ArcGIS.
Okay.
And once you set it up, it can run itself. You just need to have the staff to be able to work it on the back end.
And then, Mr. Dean, for you, where would we consider putting this in the budget?
If it were to go in the budget right now, it would go into the DPW Highway Department tree maintenance line item.
The whole 85?
Yeah, if that was the desire of the board.
Okay.
Right now, there are $5,000 additional in the budget that we're about to talk about at this stage.
Okay.
So you would have to commit to the rest of the funds if you wanted to do that.
So were the BRCs meeting with you Wednesday night? Would we, if that was the will of the board, would you have time to revise that?
We could, yeah.
Right. Okay. Questions or comments? I'll start down here. Selectman Charter.
It's a great funding request, first of all. Thank you for all your work, Kristen, and folks in the tree committee. I get the need to kind of get our house in order with the tree maintenance request and the contract services request. And $85,000 is a lot, but those are items that will play out over multiple years. So I'm more than happy to support that. I would urge you to be more aggressive about increasing the tree planting line in years 2 and out. I'd like to see more than 8 trees planted, and I would support that personally and as a select board member. So the only thing I'm going to nitpick is year 2 tree planting budget. If you could make it bigger, given that some of those items that we have to get in-house to do a better job of maintaining what we have.
Okay.
Once those expenses are out of the way, let's increase that tree planting budget, and I'll support that.
In year 2?
In year 2 and out.
Yeah. Okay.
That's it. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Of course. Selectwoman Cowan.
I don't think that I have any other questions. I was glad to hear your support of a more aggressive tree planting, and it is a fascinating and interesting, planning process to think about our trees and what keeps them healthy.
Thank you. Selectwoman Gilman.
No, I have to echo the previous comments from my fellows up here, and I really appreciate the work that you've all been doing, and the Tree City USA designation is very important to me. I see it. I pass a sign going to Concord that Concord is a tree city, and I look around the State House and I don't see many trees. So I don't know where they are, but somewhere they are a tree city. So I thank you for your work.
Selectwoman Belanger.
Yes, I'm excited too. I love that you guys share the resources the way you do it. It's just the way it's meant to be. We should be doing that, encouraging that. And I don't have the numbers in my head from before, but I went to a Unitil meeting, and the amount of trees that are cut down every year in maintenance, your 32 trees don't even touch.
Oh, I know it.
It's such a tiny little fraction. So thank you for all the work you're all doing. The 8+ trees per year that will be planted. Do you have a plan on where they'll go, or are you just going to do this on a year-to-year basis, decide that way?
I think we've gotten to the point when we had a large number of trees to accommodate. We had to say, okay, we have 13 trees, what makes the most sense, where they need to be, and it sort of kicked it up a notch for us to be able to think. Normally we think in terms of one tree here and one tree there, but now if we look at an analysis of what we want to do and say, okay, if we're going to do 8 trees this year, which area of town needs more trees? Which area can benefit from a greener look, or where has something come down and that we can, replant.
So it allows you to be flexible.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. That was it for me.
Okay. Well, it's an awful lot of fun to be the select board rep to the committee, so thank you for having me. It is. Great way to start a Tuesday morning.
Okay.
Mr. Dean, do you need a formal motion from the board to support this, or can we just ask you to, how would you prefer that?
If it's really up to you. If you want to take a vote, you can do that. Otherwise, we can just bake it into the budget. That's...
Take a vote.
Okay. Well, why don't we entertain a motion to formalize this? I would entertain a motion to authorize the town manager to increase the public works. What was the line item?
Tree maintenance.
The tree maintenance line item by $85,535 by way of funding the tree committee to continue their work.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you for all the work you're doing.
Now, speaking of budgets, if you're all interested in staying, Mr. Dean's going to go over the draft budget.
Yes.
Mr. Dean, the floor is yours.
All right, here we go. So this is the FY24 preliminary budget. We put together a PowerPoint presentation for tonight just to be able to help people at home follow along with the budget. I will say right out of the gate, I want to acknowledge the efforts of Corey Stevens, our finance director, and Melissa Roy, our assistant town manager. We really worked as a team on this budget. It was something that when we first got into the budget, it was about a 12.5% increase. The board should know that. We have actually gone in already and made several reductions to the tune of about $820,000 off the top. So that has landed us at the spot that you're looking at tonight as far as the preliminary budget goes. So with that, we'll roll to slide 2. Budget notes for FY24. So wages are an overall 6.28% increase. That was, and that's due mainly to several factors. One is the FY23 reclassification implementation for non-union personnel. If you remember, we had MRI do a study on that, and we've moved forward with implementation. And then we have police and fire contractual wages that are settled as part of their contracts. And we have an SEIU wage adjustment of 2 steps that's in the budget. Non-union wages are forecast to increase in July of 2024. Those would be a 3% step and a 2% COLA adjustment. The police step increase of 2.5% and a COLA of 2% in July of 2024, that's settled as part of their contract. Fire step increase the same, 2.5%, and COLA of 2% in July of 2024. Police and fire each receive $2,000 retention bonuses in FY23, and they will again in FY24. We're planning on that. And SEIU's step increase of 2.5% and COLA of 2% is budgeted for July of 2024. So all of the union agreements are settled at those rates, and not including the bonuses that we talked about. So that's the wage picture. Benefits. Health insurance increase is expected. We just got word of that the other day. We're looking at a 10% increase.
Wow.
So it's pretty significant.
What's the driving force behind that, Mr. Dean?
Just claims. Claims is driving the number for the pool. The overall pool is doing what it's doing. And the health trust is also a little deficient right now in the premium reserve that they usually carry. So they're having to make that up in rates. And that's why the January pool actually got a 12.8% increase, but we did better than the pool. So that's good news, but it's still a pretty significant increase for health insurance.
Yeah.
And then I noted there that FY23, we actually had a reduction of health insurance last year of 1.5%, so the budget went the other direction instead of the direction it's going this year.
So it's more of the trust trying to secure and rebuild their reserve rather than the town of Exeter's claim experience?
Correct.
Okay.
That's correct. So those are benefits. Retirement is also up. Retirement's up 3.2% overall budget, and payroll taxes are up 13.08%. So those 2 more numbers there. On the expense side, the debt service and vehicle replacements are increased by $551,000. That represents debt service increases on 4 projects that we'll talk about a little bit later in the presentation. Another budget note is that the general fund has a new part-time position in the welfare human services budget. This position would be 30 hours a week, and as part of that, the senior executive assistant would be relieved of welfare duties, which would become more complicated and complex. And again, we can talk more about that, but that is the current condition that we're experiencing there. The general fund is also carrying approximately $10,000 for a part-time emergency management director position. That is, we are anticipating our fire chief retiring, and we are looking at that as a possibility for him in his post-retirement life. And we are contemplating that, so I'm sure that will get some discussion, and that is something that we put forward as a proposal in this FY24 budget. And then another note is the police prosecutor position is moving from a full-time employee to a part-time employee. Right now, we have a detective in the police department performing those functions, and he is retired, and he has become a contract prosecutor. So he's as a part-time position, actually, within the organization. So there have been some changes in the police dollars that would accommodate that modification that we've been making. So the budget overview for FY24, the total general fund preliminary budget's $23,019,693. That's a 7.94% increase over FY23, $1.69 million. The town operating budget funds all town departments. Water and sewer funds have their own budget. And a note I made here is that in FY24, the town is actually going to see a significant rise in property values. Right now, our assessment ratio is about at 60%. So we are expecting next year to experience a significant revaluation in the town, and values will be adjusted accordingly. Preliminary budget, general government. General government covers the select board, town manager, human resources, transportation, the legal budget, IT, media communications, the trustees of trust funds, the town moderator, the town clerk, and elections registration. Altogether, that budget is $1,476,712. It's an increase of $155,790 or 11.79% over FY23. Just drilling down into the budgets a little bit, the select board budget has been increased by $1,500 in the special expense. Part of that was driven by this conversation that we had just prior to the budget, as far as where some of those tree expenses might fall. The town manager budget is $302,125. That's an increase of $34,890 or 13.06% over the 23 budget. And the note on that budget is that it now allocates the senior executive assistant full-time to the town manager's office with no welfare allocation. It used to be that we would carve out 16% of that wage and charge it to the welfare human services budget, and now it's 100% in the town manager budget. Human resources, the FY24 budget's $205,103. That's an increase of $18,719 or 10.04%. A lot of that is driven by wage adjustments, wage and benefit adjustments. The expenses in that budget are level funded. Transportation, that remains the same. That's a placeholder budget of $1. There's no increase there. The legal budget for FY24 is $100,000. If you recall, that was increased last year from 80 to 100, so we're holding it at 100 with no increase for FY24. The information technology budget is $342,653. That's an increase of 1.04% over FY23. I think everybody knows our information technology coordinator is about to retire soon, and we will have a reworking of that department and moving some people. And we have budgeted accordingly for that, so that's up 1.04%. A position that used to be part of the IT budget and a 50-50 sense with the cable TV fund and the IT fund was, or the IT budget, is the IT tech, Bob Glowacki. And Bob, his position was reclassified to media communications coordinator, so that's a new budget in the FY24 budget, and it's $64,366. So that's a brand new budget for this year that's been established. Trustees of trust funds, FY24 budget, $891, no increase there. That is a stipend for the chair of the trustees. It's a historical number. Town moderator budget is up, increase of $597 due to more elections in FY24. The town clerk budget is $412,982. That's an increase of $22,955 or 5.89% over FY23. And FY24 increases there include $16,974 in wages and $3,248 in general expenses. And a general theme, I think, when you look at the budgets this year is you're going to see an inflationary impact as well. There are a lot of budgets that we went through that we tried to, we had those conversations with the departments about inflationary pressures, but certainly just about every agreement we have, a contract that has escalators in it, we're seeing those escalators hit the budget. So they're definitely there. The elections registration FY24 budget is carrying 4 elections in FY24 compared to 1 in FY23, so the total budget increase there is $9,238 or 59.48%. So those are the components that make up the 11.79% increase. Any questions so far?
Any questions?
Okay. All right, on to finance. So this budget includes finance, treasurer, tax collection, and assessing. Total budget for FY24, $761,16. That's an increase of $49,961 or 7.04%. In finance, in that office, 3 full-time personnel. Wage increases are $19,917. We've got an increase in audit fees. That's where you start to see some of the inflation come in. Audit fees, $14,10. Increase in contracted services for GASB, $74.75 reporting. That's $5,600. Dues increases, those are also happening within the budget, $525. And then an increase in the Munis software agreement of $2,154. So this is actually a great example of a budget where you're seeing a lot of the increases are due to either regulation or inflation. The treasurer budget, there are no changes there. That's a stipend that's given to our elected treasurer who, the note for the board on that is that she will become appointed before the next election. So that's a transition that will take place. Then the tax collection budget is up 2.13%. There's an increase in wages there, but it's offset by a benefits decrease. Then we have a general expense increase of $1,924 in that budget. In the assessing budget, what's of note there is that the MRI contract for our assessor is going to go up $2,200, 2.2%. Increase in revaluation, that is due to the settlement we had with Riverwoods regarding appraising their property. We have to hire an independent appraiser to go through that process, so we've had to adjust that budget accordingly. Planning, building, economic development, land use boards. Total budget here is $744,699. That's a decrease of $6,539, or negative 0.87% under FY23. Again, in planning, most of the changes are due to wages and benefits increases, and the overall budget is up 5.7%. And then in economic development, that budget increase is $4,291, or 2.67%. There is a drop-off in expenses in the economic development budget as that position is completing some certifications through Oklahoma State University, so those costs won't be in the FY24 budget. One change that we recommended here was in inspections and code, we made a reduction in the part-time electrical inspector position. Reason for that is that it's been multiple years. We've tried to fill it. We haven't had success doing it. We do have the current code enforcement officer is being paid a stipend to do the work, and we just haven't had the ability to fill the position. So we took that money and reduce that budget down.
I do have a question on that.
Okay.
I'm not sure I'm really comfortable with that.
Yeah.
I understand we haven't filled it, but we haven't filled it because we were offering such a low rate. So I'm just giving you a heads up. I'm a little concerned. There's two, because we haven't filled it, they were taken out. And they weren't filled because we really weren't, what were we offering, $14 an hour or something, so.
And again, I realize that this is a dynamic process, and this is the first step that we're taking tonight and looking at the budget.
Yeah.
This is something that we talked about administratively, certainly at some length, but certainly, our ears are open. So
okay, great, thank you.
This is a proposal.
Yes.
The land use board budgets, those are your basic budgets. There's an increase of $50 in the ZBA account. There's a decrease in the HDC account of $902. Conservation Commission is a decrease of $534. And then the Heritage Commission is actually an increase of $216, and that's more recording secretary money for the Heritage Commission. And then the renewable energy expense is level funded at $1. Moving on to the police budget. Police budget is $3,872,453. That's an increase of $162,355, or 4.38% over FY23. You can see the total personnel breakdown: 29 full-time, 2 part-time. Budget's broken into 4 divisions you're familiar with: administration, staff, patrol, and animal control. FY24 budget changes there include wage increases of $54,885. There's an increase in the shift differential. That's a contract item, $5,200. Personal leave replacement increase of $18,825, and an overtime increase of $80,522. So that is for callback of officers to fill shifts where there are vacancies in the shift. The prosecutor budget increase of $45,022 due to the new contract prosecutor services now assigned to police part-time wages. Overall general expenses decreased by $23,304. That's mainly due to the reduction in the prosecutor contracted services budget of $35,000. So there's been some movement of money in the account between that and the part-time wage. And then the Comfort Dog Maple, her budget's been reduced by $6,000 because, as the chief pointed out, she's paid for at this point. So there's no more need to raise funds for Maple. Fire EMS emergency management. You can see the total budget figure there, $4.29 million. It's an increase of $199,813, or 4.88%. This budget funds 33 FTEs. The town currently runs shifts of 7 firefighters per shift at full strength, 28 positions total. Ranks include captains, lieutenants, and down the line, paramedics, EMTs. Budget's broken out into 3 divisions: administration, suppression, and emergency management. The health officer functions in the fire department, but is part of shared services as far as the budget goes with dispatch. So that's broken out. The FY24 budget changes include wage increases of $83,343 in full-time wages. And again, as we noted, there's an increase in $99,939 in part-time wages for the EMD part-time position proposal. And the total wage increases in fire are $99,045 or 4.1%. So this is where you see the 2.5% step and the 2% COLA baked into the budget for the union personnel. General expense increases, command supplies, $1,500. The IT contract, both police and fire have a separate contract for IT that's gone up. So that's an increase of $3,753. Fuel's been increased by $1,199. Protective equipment increased $9,700. Travel reimbursement $1,195. Hydrant maintenance fee. So this is related to the water sewer study that was just done. And the recommendation that we've made, again, keeping in mind where the budget sits today, is that we're talking about $30,000 increase to that budget to make it $50,000. And I know there's been some discussion at Water Sewer Committee about making it 100. I know Bob Kelly has an opinion about it, and we've put it at 50 in the overall so far in this budget. We've parked it at 50,000. So, and then just a note, the overall expense budget increase is $54,290. $30,000 of that increase is the hydrant maintenance fee. Dispatch and health. So the dispatch budget is $448,400. That's an increase of $11,538 or 2.64% over FY23. The health budget is $157,431. Increase is $3,172, 2.06% over FY23. Dispatch budget changes, overall wages decreased by $1,585 due to a decrease in overtime of $97.64. There was a decrease in vacation replacement overtime of $14.56 and a reduction in sick leave replacement overtime of $12.61. So net increase in the full-time wages based upon all those changes is $3,375 or 1.5%. Dispatch payroll benefit taxes increase is $13,123 or 10.2% to account for benefit changes in that department. Health budget FY24 changes, full-time wages increase $6,056 or 9.1%. Again, we've mentioned it before, there are several positions that were reclassified as part of our process. The health officer was no exception, so that's why you're seeing that. The payroll tax benefits increases $11.16 or 2.6% over FY23. Then the health budget FY24 expense budget decreased by $4,000 due to a favorable mosquito control contract that was negotiated by the department. So we realized a $5,000 savings off of that. So I'll stop there. Any questions so far? Okay, keep going. Okay. Public Works General Fund, total FY24 budget, $4,736,806. That increase is $159,591, 3.49% over FY23. Administration and Engineering budget, that is $569,012, increase of $110,287 or 24% over FY23. Again, budget changes include the full year funding of the GIS technician and also wage reclassifications in that department. So that's where you have your DPW director, town engineer, assistant engineer, and office manager in that, business manager, in that department. Expenses are level funded at $23,503. The highway budget is actually a decrease, $2,103,384. It's a decrease of $37,281 or 1.74% under the 23 budget. Full-time wages are up. They're up $30,921, 4.3%. Payroll taxes and benefits decreased by $60,001 due to plan changes. And then the FY24 general expenses budget of $217,701 is a decrease of $3,000 or 1.4% from 23. So that's on the expense side, or the wages and benefits and expense side. On the capital outlay side for highway, The budget decreased $5,000 in culvert maintenance, and then paving, we've recommended that that be level funded at $700,000 for FY24. Snow removal budget, very little change in that, $314,696. So that's an increase of $1,680 or 0.54% over the FY23 budget. The solid waste budget, we do have contract services that are increasing in that budget. The overall budget is up $84,905 or 6.05%. The contract services are up $73,500 to fund our contract with Waste Management. And then part-time wages also increased again due to the reclassification that we had of 14.8%. And the grinding budget has been decreased by $5,000. The landfill monitoring budget has increased for engineering services and additional landfill monitoring at the landfill by $11,671. So that's up 28.4%. Streetlights is level budget, $169,000, no increase over FY23. So this should be the last year of our buyout of the lights, and next year we should begin seeing some savings in the streetlight budget because we've paid off the book from Unitil, the actual purchase of the lights. We amortize that over a 5-year period, and FY24 is the last year of that amortization. So we'll see savings there in FY25.
Can I ask, do we have a plan for another section of town to do this, or just?
I think we're pretty well done.
Yeah.
I think we're pretty well finished. There are a few.
Linden Street, the whole area, okay.
Linden Street, yeah, just let us know if you see, there are some lights out there that you can tell when you look at them, they're not LED, they're the halogen lights.
I know because
But they're supposedly private lights.
Yeah. They put out my lights. Something happens on my dashboard when I'm going over Linden Street Bridge there. So anyway, I'll talk to you.
Yeah, sounds good.
Thank you.
And the stormwater FY24 budget is $92,360, and that's a level fund budget, no increase over FY23. Moving on to maintenance and garage, that is a decrease of $63,904 or 4.94% under FY23. Again, general maintenance FY24, this is where you'll see a suggested change. The decrease of $72,983 is a 12.07% under the FY23 budget. And the budget changes include defunding the HVAC plumber tech position in-house and utilizing contract services. The reality on the ground is that is what we're doing today. We're actually using contract services for that. But again, we realize that that will be a discussion point during budget, how you want to handle it.
Yeah, that was the other question I had on that.
We can put a marker on that for now. Town buildings budget is increase of just $4 over FY23, so it's practically a level budget. That includes electricity, natural gas, water, sewer bills for town buildings, and the building maintenance budgets for individual facilities. The maintenance projects FY24 budget is level funded at $100,000, no increase over FY23. And the plan is to use the Bureau Veritas report to be used as a guidepost for managing facility budgets going forward. So we're going to start using that facilities condition assessment that was published to select projects to do with the maintenance projects funds. So we get to welfare and human services. That budget is $249,199. That's an increase of $65,612 or 35.74% over FY23. So as we mentioned earlier in the presentation, as I mentioned, the budget proposes modifying the administrative structure, adding a part-time welfare administrator at 30 hours per week. Total financial impact for that 9 months is $39,651. The net wage increase is $28,364 with the allocation of the senior executive assistant to the town manager budget. So that's the delta. We did increase direct relief expenses. Those are up $34,650, and that's basically due to increased demand. We're seeing increased demand in that area with rental assistance. That's the big one. So we increased the rent assistance by $26,000. We also upped the heat assistance by $3,500. We do try to use outside agencies as much as possible on that. For heating assistance during that period of time. But we felt that it was important to raise that budget as well.
So may I ask, are the resource funds diminishing, or is it just we have that big of a increase in need?
I think it is the bigger increase in need that we're seeing.
Thank you.
So, people are going through experiencing upticks in electric bills. We know that everything's more expensive. So we're seeing an uptick in activity.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Human Service Agency funding is increased by $6,495 or 6.6%. The note on that is that it would be subject to review by the Human Services Funding Committee. Parks and Recreation. Parks and Rec the total budget is $682,230. That's an increase of $67,724 or 11.02% over FY23. The rec budget is $431,667. The increase is $40,275 or 10.29%. Again, wage increases, $27,399, primarily due to reclassifications. Payroll, taxes, and benefits are increased $12,876, and expenses are level funded at $7,450. In the Parks 24 budget, $250,563. Increase there, $27,449 or 12.3% over FY23. Wage increase is $6,717 or 7.01%. Payroll, taxes, and benefits increased by $9,393 for a health plan change. And then expenses are increased $11,340 to support a greater level of maintenance in the 56 acres of parks properties maintained by the department. So the request there is for more contracted services to do more work out in the field on a more efficient basis. Other culture and rec, those budgets are pretty straightforward, as they have traditionally been. We did increase the veterans activities by $500. That had been a line item at $3,500 for some time. That goes to support our Memorial Day parade, so we did add a little bit into that budget. So the overall budget is up 1.47% over FY23.
Brass band, that's been at $4,000 for how many years?
So brass band was actually at $3,500.
Okay.
Until just a few years back.
I knew that was a conversation of budget, and I couldn't remember.
And then we did increase it by a little bit a few years
I used to
back.
get $7 a concert, but there were 6 concerts a year instead of 4.
So
Yeah, what year was that, though? Yeah.
78.
Yeah, thank you.
And I know that these are very traditional events for the town. So if the board has any thoughts or looking at this and you want more work done on any of these budgets, we basically built them around their traditional amount, except for that one.
Yeah, it's just the Exeter Brass Band. If you really look out there on Monday nights, it's still a favorite. And, I'm not sure how far that $4,000 goes for them.
We can give you the breakdown. It's
That would
not a
be
lot.
Okay,
It's
I
not
would
a
be
lot.
interested in that. Thank you.
Do we don't fund the Memorial Day Parade, just the holiday parade?
We fund the Memorial Day Parade out of the Veterans Activities account.
Okay.
So we do fund both of them.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, moving on. Public library. So the library budget is $1,244,151. That increase is $71,832 or 6.13% over FY23. This is a budget, as you know, that is voted by the trustees and then passed over to the town for consideration with the Budget Recommendations Committee. So we don't have a lot of control over this budget. It comes out of their process. So we put it in there, and it's part of our overall budget. Debt servicing.
Is there any more to that, or
any more to the library budget? So we do have an opinion about their fund balance, the library's fund balance, that the town should actually be holding on to that fund balance and not returning it. That's been an issue that has been brought forward through NHMA and some opinions on that. So that's something that we can consider again for this budget cycle and have a conversation, hopefully have a conversation with the library trustees about that. Other than that, I know that they've made some changes in personnel. They've added a couple of positions full-time over there and reduced some part-time positions as a result. In the conversations I've had with the library director, she has talked about expanding the footprint, meaning with the new building, they have had to add bodies in different places within the building to the budget, and it's increased the budget.
And they can do that without consulting with you or the board?
Their budget's a bottom line budget, and they can move money within it. So the short answer to that question is yes, they can reorganize and implement a structure without the board's authorization or mine.
I thought our funding for the library was just applied to programming.
Pays for their full-time, part-time wages, their benefits, and their what they call their public services budget, which is books and also maintenance and electricity and utilities and so forth. It's sort of a catch-all budget for their total budget.
Maybe we've got some programs coming up. We'll talk about that later. All boards and Right to Know. Maybe late October, a meeting with you and Ms. Roy, Hope, and maybe the chair of the trustees and me. I don't think we've done that in a while.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
Before it gets to the BRC. So I know that's usually the first week of November. Why don't we plan to do that in late October?
We'll do that.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll schedule that.
Thank you.
Sounds good. Okay, so the debt service capital budget, that total FY24 budget is $2,324,260. The increase is $551,914, or 31.14% over FY23. The debt service component of that budget, the increase is $571,684, or 38.2%. And the major increases in that budget are West Side Drive Design and Engineering, West Side Drive Construction, the solar array at Cross Road, and Pine Street, Front Street, Linden Street Roundabout. And you can see the amounts there. And the difference in the debt service is the old issues are retired, and interest decreases as debt matures. So one example is the String Bridge project that fell off the principal and interest ledger. And we do see interest decrease as debt matures, so that's the delta in the number that you see there. And then the vehicles leases budget decreased by $19,771. On benefits and taxes, the total budget is $767,021, an increase of 52.5% over FY23. Now, again, this is where we park our health insurance reserve, so you can see that's $250,194. Now that we know the health insurance increase, we'll be reallocating that $250,000 out to the department budgets, so that will add to those bottom lines in the departments. This includes our health buyout program, where the employee benefits from getting 30% of the savings, and the town gets 70%. So we're pretty aggressive with our buyout program. It's a good program. There are people that take advantage of it, and the town saves money from it. That is the cost of the program. We have a small dental reserve of $3,986. I will tell you, dental will go. That's a 2% reserve, and dental is going up 4.7%. So we're going to have to make a small adjustment on that. On the other side, the life insurance reserve is $243. That's actually the life insurance and long-term disability, we've been told, are going down. So we'll have some savings there, small savings, but we will have a little bit of savings. And then unemployment budget, $2,436, workers' comp, $243,768, property liability insurance, $81,361. I talked about the health insurance reserve, and then on the three components of the other fixed costs, we'll get our final premiums from Primex, and then we'll plug in a number. We are part of their CAP program, so we should be subject to a 6% max increase. We budgeted 5 right now. So that's the general fund preliminary budget for the operations. Bond articles, we're talking about 2 bond articles in the general fund. One is the new police station with the fire substation. Obviously, people are familiar with this project, and it's still front and center. It's in the CIP. It's been endorsed by the planning board. It's something that we're anxious to move forward with for another round and potentially funding. And then the other one is the School Street Area Reconstruction Project. Now, that's come into play primarily because that project's eligible for 35% principal forgiveness through the New Hampshire DES for the sewer portion of the project. So that's about $822,000. So it's for consideration. I think it'll be talked about during the budget process and see where people fall on it. But that we didn't want to leave it off the list because it is one of those that has the principal forgiveness from the state. It's a costly project, obviously. It's a pretty big project, but it does have that forgiveness.
The forgiveness is $800,000, or the sewer portion of the project is $800,000?
The forgiveness is $800,000.
Thank you.
Yeah, the sewer portion is about $2.37 million.
And is there a water portion as well?
There is a water portion as well, but there's no principal forgiveness on that.
And how does it break down? Sewer is 2 point, and then what's water?
I'd have to get you the number for water. It's a pretty significant number, that 6.5 though.
So the bulk of the project is water and sewer?
Water and sewer, yeah.
So it doesn't affect the tax rate, it affects the...
Except for the general fund portion of the...
Which would be the
project.
Reconstruction of the streets.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you.
And drainage. So moving on to warrant articles from the CIP, we looked at 4 for funding out of the CIP. The ADA Capital Reserve Fund, it's in the CIP for $50,000. We're suggesting $25,000 for that. The Great Bay Total Nitrogen Permit, $75,000 to continue work in that area on the permit. The Parks Improvement Fund, we took that down from $100,000 down to $50,000 for consideration for this round. Again, this is, when we talk about this, obviously we're always talking about a financial plan and trying to come up with the best financial plan we can. So we did take some money out of those 2 asks. The ADA fund is in the CIP for $50,000. The Great Bay Total Nitrogen Permit is in at $105,000, and the Parks Improvement Fund is in at $100,000. So we took those down to some degree. The Water Street Planning Grant, that is in there because it is $100,000. It's a worthwhile project, and it's state revolving fund, 100% principal forgiveness. So that's a no cost project for us.
My recollection from last year, and it may have even been the year before, but I believe it was last year, was cutting the Parks Improvement Fund. And the BRC put it back in because the improvements are going away. I mean, recognizing that was an area to try to cut. So, I mean, I envision they might do that again this year. And in addition, with the ADA, knowing all the work we need to do, I mean, I'm just wondering if that's prudent to slash those 2 in half. But we'll let the BRC deliberate.
Yeah. Okay. So looking now at warrant articles from fund balance, Planet Playground redevelopment for $297,500. So the note on this is that it would be recommended if the town receives an LWCF grant, Land Water Conservation Fund grant, for 50% of the total project cost. The total project cost is $595,000. So that would be the recommendation there. The sidewalk program, if the grant is unsuccessful, then the sidewalk program at $200,000 would be recommended from fund balance if the grant is not achieved. That's how we looked at that. The snow and ice deficit fund is a customary article at $50,000, and then the sick leave trust fund is a customary article at $100,000.
Can we just go back to the what does that include when you say Planet Playground? Redevelopment?
Yeah, a replacement of the current playground.
But not the cost of the land?
No, does not include the cost of the land.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so we get to the end of the general fund, and you can see the budget number, and then the warrant articles from that are non-fund balance general fund, and then the total FY24 preliminary, $23,169,693. Compare that to the total FY23 general fund appropriations, and that shows you the delta of $1.546 million. Total appropriations over FY23, 7.15%. Estimated tax impact, 69 cents per $400,000 assessed valuation. Again, as I stated at the outset, town values are going to change significantly. So that number you see there, that projection is based on today's value. It's not based on FY24's value. So that's going to be a much different number. Water sewer fund budgets. The water fund budget is $5,020,552, an increase of $471,182, or 10.36% over FY23. And then the sewer fund budget is $7,567,340, or 4.3% over FY23. And that is just an accounting of the different programs in water and sewer. We have administration, billing, distribution, treatment, debt service, and capital outlay. Then in the sewer fund, administration, billing, collection, treatment, debt service, and capital outlay. A couple of notes of interest on the water sewer funds are that we are contemplating an additional wastewater operator in the sewer fund, and we're also contemplating a water operator in the water fund, and we are anticipating some changes in the water operations. We may have some personnel changes there that would precipitate us, needing to backfill with a position, and may have a different look. We've had a veteran water plant operator supervisor for quite a number of years, so that horizon's getting a little bit shorter, and so we're trying to prepare for the next steps in that area. The sewer fund is the addition of the operator there is a recommendation that's being made by New Hampshire DES. They came in and audited our facility. They basically said you need a sixth operator. If you remember when we built the facility, we built it, 5 was okay, but they've come down and checked their procedures and processes and basically have said you need to add a sixth. So that's been proposed into the sewer fund budget. Yeah, you can go. Yeah, that's fine. Thank you. So bond issues for the water sewer funds. Surface water treatment plant design, $2.5 million. Again, a worthwhile project, a needed project, and something the town really needs to move on in the near future. The School Street reconstruction project that was noted earlier. The sewer capacity rehabilitation construction project, that should be good to go for construction in FY24. So that's been put on the list for consideration. And then the Webster Avenue Pump Station, additional funding for $884,000. That is a cost increase in that particular project through design. And we need additional funds to be able to finish the project through DPW. So we would suggest asking for those funds at the next town meeting. Then we have the revolving fund. So the Cable Access TV Fund, that is being funded for $212,000 in proposed spending. That is a budget that's been developed based upon the new amendment to the Cable TV Access Fund that allows more revenue to be shifted toward the fund as opposed to away from the fund. So less of a general fund revenue and more of a cable TV revenue to offset the cost of the cable access work. That fund is also proposing moving a part-time position to full-time. So that is in that budget for consideration. These budgets, I always say that they're non-appropriated budgets, so they don't go to town meeting. They're actually just the responsibility, but they're the responsibility of the board to adopt these budgets and put them into place. So Cable TV Access Fund is $212,000. The EMS Fund is projected to have over $800,000 in revenue coming into that fund due to the fee adjustments that have been made there. So that is a healthy number. The Rec Revolving Fund is projecting $624,613 in projected revenues for their fund. So that's the status of the revolving funds. So that is the overview.
Thank you.
Take any questions.
Any questions or comments, Mr. Dean?
Not at this time.
Not yet.
Obviously, you'll be presenting this Wednesday night to the Budget Recommendations Committee, who will very carefully vet this and weave their magic for the next 2 months and then come back with a recommendation. I don't think there are too many surprises. I mean, given what we've had to do this year to not only recruit, but to retain our valuable employees, and doing a reclassification study and taking action, something that hadn't been done in years, was vital and something that we had to do. And that's reflected in this, obviously.
I do have one question. So that 7-point-something% increase in the general fund budget, what percentage of that is due to wages?
So of the increase, it is, and I do have that number, are you talking about the wage budget, that 6.28% increase overall? Like what percent of that is of the total budget?
Yeah, maybe I didn't ask the question correctly. So there's a general fund increase of 7-point-something%.
Right.
How much of that is driven by wage increases?
Wages represent 45.18% of that number.
So almost half.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments, Mr. Dean?
No, thank you for asking that, Dan, because I was curious about that number too. It's important. I think it's going to be important to stress to the Budget Committee and the general public.
And we're prepared. We have, obviously we've been talking. We're prepared behind the scenes with whatever wage and data information needs to be brought forward to the committees.
I would impress upon you, I mean, the select board, obviously, we try to attend as many of the BRC meetings as we can. We don't participate, we listen. So having said that, I would impress upon both you and Ms. Roy to remind the BRC of what we've done, why we've done it. I know I spoke to that in July in their kickoff meeting, but also remind them that we have, we still have openings that have not been filled. Mm-hmm. It's been tough. There's at least one position I can think of that they approved, two positions that they approved last year that are not filled yet.
Right.
In part because it's been difficult, but also in part because you and the town manager's office have had challenges with other, filling other positions. Specifically, I'm talking about the assistant HR and the GIS. Mm-hmm. So I'd like you to remind them it's not, because the good question they're going to ask is why aren't they filled?
Right.
And that's going to be a great question, but we have a great answer. So just, if you would, both of you, please remind the BRC of the struggles that we've had and what we've had to do as a board, working with you and Mr. Stevens and Ms. Roy to retain our valuable employees and also recruit.
Yeah, and that message is bound to be part of the budget process this year. We're aware of it, and we're well prepared. We've been talking about that at length, and delivering that message home to the committee is certainly right at the top of the list.
And delivering the message of what the expense or what the budget can be if you have to keep recruiting, retraining, losing people, recruiting, retraining. So while that's 7%, and thank you for asking the question, it's a very good question. It's something that had to be done. And what was it, 2014 or 2015 since the...
2014.
Yeah, that's a long time. Mm-hmm. A long time considering, what we've gone through the last couple of years with inflation and so forth. People's, how they look at where they want to work is different. I mean, a lot has changed, which we know, but we need to make sure that the BRC is made aware of that as well.
Yeah, and you've made that clear, Mr. Chair. I mean, this is a atmosphere we're operating in right now that's a little bit different, a lot different than
it's
other
tremendously different.
And we're still, I want to choose my words carefully, but we're still, to some degree, rowing uphill in some areas, and we're continuing to work hard at it. But it is a competitive market out there, and retaining employees is at the top of the list. So,
and this is not a problem exclusive to Exeter. It's not a problem exclusive to New Hampshire, and we have desirable locations across each border. north and south, and it has made it incredibly difficult. And I think that while we understand that, we have to certainly make sure BRC understands that, but also educating the public that, this isn't spending for the sake of spending. This is to retain and fill the positions so that we can provide the essential functions that our taxpayers and citizens and residents of this town deserve. So,
yeah, to put a finer point on my question, the reason I asked it is that typically we go into this process with somewhere around a 2.5% to 3.5% increase. Without all that wage pressure, that's where we would be, roughly, give or take. And it is important to put this in the context of not just our town, but struggles that surrounding municipalities have had. I think of the Northampton run on their police department. So, these are...
I will tell you, for the very first time in my career, we actually declined sharing wage data with another community, which is not normal practice. But
I would say that was prudent.
We felt like in this market, after a lot of discussion, that we needed to hold on to the data that we had.
Yeah, for now, that's very prudent.
I mean, so.
And we can't compete with the private, and the private sector's just been
through the roof.
More enticing, especially for, younger employees that may not be thinking right now in the present about benefits or pensions or some of the attractive things that would entice somebody to seek work in the public sector.
But I would incorporate that into your narrative. The fact that the typical place where we are currently in the process, we would be there but for this upward wage pressure. That would seem to me to be a powerful point to make.
Very good.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Dean.
You're welcome.
So I've been keeping pretty good track of where we bounced around, and I believe I've done a decent job trying to catch my place. So I have it back to you, Mr. Dean, your town manager's report. If you've got any steam left,
sure. I've got some steam left. So I've been basically working at department budget meetings. You can imagine that. We had our leadership group meeting on September 19th. That's a group smaller than all the department heads, but it's just some department heads, and it's more of a strategic planning group. So we had that meeting on September 19th, went very well. We discussed CIP priorities, amongst other things, and went very well. I attended, as Nancy pointed out, the hazard mitigation plan meeting on September 14th, where we ranked all of our various hazard mitigation measures and to become part of that plan. So the board should, once that's done, the board will need to adopt that plan. So it'll be coming back to you for adoption. I had a meeting on September 14th with an interested party, meeting with Economic Development and Planning and Building on, there's a company that's interested in locating at 3 to 5 Continental Drive. They deal with leachate, and so it's a little bit, they're working also with the City of Concord on a proposal. So we're evaluating that with our water sewer staff. So just wanted to let the board know that was in the offing. Executive team meeting on the budget September 15th. Dan mentioned the Chamber of Commerce board meeting. I'm a director there, so I also attended that, and I attended the Memories and Milestones event as well. It was very good. The parking meetings continue. September 19th, we had one, and we're going to have one tomorrow. So in preparation for that process continuing on. I did have a meeting of the Health Trust Finance and Personnel Committee last Thursday. That was the meeting where we set the rates for this coming FY24. The Pickpocket Dam, I wanted to mention that the River Committee voted last week at their meeting to support a grant application for removal of the Pickpocket Dam. So that'll be coming back to the board for you to discuss and decide if you want to move ahead with that. So in pretty short order here. I think the 2nd.
We had talked about next Monday.
Yeah, I think the 2nd of October, so it's right around the corner. So be thinking about that. We mentioned the meeting of town hall stakeholders. I did want to mention in the paper on Friday, There was an obituary for Bob Wentworth. Bob served on our Budget Recommendations Committee for a number of years.
Wonderful man.
Passed away recently, and just wanted to offer my condolences to his family. He was a wonderful volunteer and gave a lot to the town in the time that he was with us. So he will be missed. We've staked out Swayze Parkway for the turnaround. I did send the board a note about that last week. So if you see stakes down there, that's what it's for. And again, that's just to get an estimate on the cost of the actual project. So we needed to stake it out for that reason.
I took the liberty of notifying the chair of the Swayze trustees.
Okay.
Just so that they were aware, because I know they spent some time down there. So
yeah, and I did send him an email as well, so that we covered that base. That's great. Okay. The dollies are in. If you remember, for the town hall, we bought chairs and we bought dollies. The dollies have finally arrived, so they're in. We're working to get them put together. We worked recently with the trustees of trust funds on definition of capital improvements. Nico and I and Melissa and Corey attended a meeting of the trustees, and I think we hammered out a compromise. Seems like we have done that, I think.
It's looking that way.
It looks pretty good right now, so it's time well spent.
It was.
And so the groundwater letter of intent, we've received that from the academy, and that's currently being reviewed. So that process is continuing to move. We've been waiting for that for a while, and we got it last week, so it is here. And then I signed the JSA contract last week on the rec project, so that design work should be commencing forthwith on that project, which is exciting. And I mentioned the downtown parking, so I think that was the balance of my report.
Terrific, thank you. And I would like to say it's nice sitting through the trustee of the trust fund meeting. We have 3 trustees who are working very, very hard to, I think, make things more transparent and taking their role very seriously. So it was nice to participate in that meeting and see them at work. So thank you, Mr. Dean.
You're welcome.
Under correspondence, we have a third quarter update from Coast for our review. All right, board calendar.
And before we go,
please.
just in case I missed it, public comment, did you?
I did not.
You don't have anybody in Zoom, right?
I did not. I did miss that.
It's
I think
okay.
Part of the reason I
teamwork
missed it
here.
was
We're all over the place.
there was no one here other than those that spoke and had an opportunity to spoke, and nobody has come on via Zoom.
That's
So
fine. I just wanted to, none. Got it.
Eric, the mic's yours if you. Okay.
My favorite time of year.
Public comment?
No.
Oh.
Budgets.
I know. All right, this Friday, September 29th, we have the 2 sessions of a special town meeting for the procedural defect. Deliberative session will take place in this room from 9 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. to be followed by and the first session will include the explanation, discussion, and debate of the warrant article. The second session that begins from 9:30 to 10:30 will be the actual voting, again, right here in the Novak room. And I do know we have a quorum.
So I'm okay?
You are.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
My apologies for not being there.
I appreciate it. Life comes up.
It does.
So let's start with select board meetings first, and then I've got a couple other dates to put on the calendar. So for select board meetings through the end of the year, October 2nd, October 16th, October 30th, November 6th, November 20, December 4th, December 18th. I can
Back
repeat
to,
that.
yes.
Where would you want me to go back? Beginning?
Nope. November 7,
No, it's the 6th.
November 6th,
November 6th, November 20,
November 20,
December 4th, December 18th?
December 6th?
4th?
4th. 4th.
And December 18th.
Okay, I'm good.
And then keep in mind, we may need to meet briefly the week between Christmas and New Year's for encumbrances. Okay. So in addition to that, just to put on your calendars, October 11th at the library is our all-board meeting.
I will not be able to be there.
Okay, that's fine. And October 18th, also in the library, is the Right to Know training.
The 11th and the 18th.
Correct, of October.
We have something on the calendar for October 18th. Oh, maybe that's
I think we talked about
the
maybe-
Right to Know.
Yeah.
All right, good.
Both of those, Mr. Dean, 6:30?
6:30.
Okay. And then obviously BRC meetings that are scheduled, if the board is able to attend.
In my calendar.
All right, did everyone get those, all the dates?
Yeah. in
Perfect,
conflict
thank
with the
you.
Heritage Commission.
I wanted to, I know this time of year gets particularly busy, I just wanted to get that on everyone's calendar, taking into consideration the Thanksgiving holiday next month, and then through. Mr. Dean, I know it's only September, but I think I'd like to just do this now. We did something for our employees last year, and had a conversation with both Mr. Dean and Ms. Roy last week. Maybe we don't have to make a decision tonight, but I like to plan ahead. The day before Thanksgiving is a Wednesday. I proposed an early dismissal for employees on that Wednesday. Keeping in mind what we did for employees last year, the Christmas holiday falls on a Monday, and I thought the board could consider closing town office the day after, December 26th, to give the employees an extra day, and maybe also considering an early release the Friday before Christmas. We talked about wages and how we've tried to help our employees in that way. We can't do a whole lot that private sector employers do now with working remotely or hybrid working, but we can, try to recognize our employees and their families, and maybe a small token of our appreciation. I don't think it really, for those days leading up to holidays, I don't think it takes away from town business a whole lot, and I don't think it really costs any money to do that. And I think it would go a long way to say thank you to our employees, so.
I like that idea, and I like that we're talking about it now so we can post it.
Yep.
If we decide to do that, I think it's really important, but I agree with you wholeheartedly. It's a good thing to do.
Could we just, get that kind of in writing so we can see it at our next meeting and approve it?
Sure.
But yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay. Fantastic. There's nothing else from the board. I would entertain a motion at this time to enter into non-public session under RSA 91A:3, 2A.
Wait, before you do that.
I'm sorry.
I just wanted to do a PSA. Somebody, for the second time in like 5 years, left 2 bicycles in my yard. And I just wanted to let people know that if you find things like that, call the police station and tell them that you found something, because they do have a lost property area, which can be very crowded. And somebody actually was looking for one of the bikes that was on my yard, so it worked.
Okay, so moved on your...
Thank you.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk.
Selectman Chartrand.
Aye.
Selectwoman Cowan.
Aye.
Selectwoman Belanger.
Aye.
Clerk says aye, Mr. Chair.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. The board will be going to non-public. Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Thank you for tuning in to Exeter TV. Exeter TV is the town's public and government access channels, available on Comcast channels 6 and 22. Channel 6 is your channel. If you have an idea for a program, want to host your own talk show, or submit a film, we're here to get your content on television. On Channel 22, we bring you live and replay coverage of government meetings and other town updates. A third channel, Blue Hawk Media, is operated by SAU 16 and can be found on Channel 8, with all your school sports, events, and meetings. You can watch Exeter TV online at exeternh.tv, Apple TV, and on Roku. Find us on social media for extra content. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell to get notified about live streams and new content. Tune in to our platforms every other Friday to watch the Exeter Biweekly Report with recaps of recent events, updates from town departments, and messages from nonprofits in your area. If you head to our website, exeternh.tv, we invite you to sign up to our newsletter to receive monthly updates about new content, upcoming meetings, and more. We'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch Exeter TV and hope that you tune in to our other content as well.